You are now entering the Take Up, a place to gather with the Filmism. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and I'm here with my co-host, the managing editor of thetakeup.com, Andrew Wyatt. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
And every episode, we get to decide if one film gets to enter the Take Up's canon. The rest go in the trash. Today, we are discussing Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, One Battle After Another. And then we'll have one more thing. Andrew, I'm coming back from seeing One Battle After Another for the second time. I saw it in Indianapolis at the Indiana State Museum on 70 millimeter IMAX.
Ooh.
If you thought it was overwhelming wherever you saw it, where did you see it?
I saw it at the Alamo on Friday night. Yeah.
So
not even the big screen.
Okay, cool. I'm curious. I'm not going to be able to hide it. I am ecstatic over this film. I am very happy that it exists in my life. So I'll just say that now.
Okay, that knowing what I know about you and how you approach a movie that you like, I feel like that's a ringing endorsement from
it's
Josh.
Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna take with me forever. Hint. But it's Paul Thomas Anderson's new film. Like, okay, let's break down our PTA history. I feel like PTA's Phantom Thread is like absolute core Take Up cinema, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think PTA is like probably like one of the canonical American directors for us, at least contemporary American directors.
Which makes us no different from anyone else, really.
Well, I was talking about this to you a bit offline last week. It's that I've been sort of surprised. So one thing One Battle has done is like motivated me to go out and read other people's reactions to it, but also to read other people's like takes on PTA. And of course, it's the internet, right? It's bad takes all the way down. But even like on forums and Reddit and so forth, not typical Twitter nonsense, but I'm always surprised about people say that, oh, I like this or that PTA movie, but this one and that one, whatever that is, those picks are for those individual person, left me completely cold. And like, to me, even the PTA movies that I think are a little more mediocre for PTA films are still bangers. Like, the guy's never made a bad film in my estimation, which is a pretty great ratio.
He's never made a bad film. He's never made a good film, meaning they're all great.
They're all great.
I'm just I'm kind of amazed at the progression of his. I've been thinking about Quentin Tarantino and how he seems to be, at least publicly facing this kind of, I'm curating my own career. I'm very careful. I'm only going to make 10 features and, I'm going to dabble in each of these areas of which I'm interested. And here's PTA, who's probably their contemporaries, who's made his 10th film that is an absolute all-time fucking banger of a film. And I don't think that it doesn't feel, at least from reading reviews or listening to interviews, that he has the same kind of, like, he's working from a gut instinct. And I think that's important when we talk about this film in particular.
Well, there's an apocryphal story. I don't know if it's true or not. Right? He dropped out of film school when we heard a film professor say, if you're here today because you want to make the next Terminator 2, you should just leave. And PTA left because he said Terminator 2 is a banger movie. It's awesome.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to make that? And so for me, this is kind of his Terminator 2.
In some ways, yeah, it kind of is. Let's save you for the future of humanity.
Yeah, let's set up what it is. I mean, One Battle After Another is based on Thomas Pynchon's Vineland. Vineland was a novel in 1985 about revolutionaries from the late 60s, and their contemporary story in 1985. But this film takes us to a time which is somewhat present. We can play the game of guessing what time it is, because one of the first shots is of the new border wall. Leo DiCaprio kind of sneaking along. He is playing Ghetto Pat, Rocket Man,
Rocket Man, Bob.
futurely known as Bob. And he is joining up with the French 75, a group of revolutionaries who are about to take down a immigration detention center. The leader of this group is Perfidia Beverly Hills, played by Tiana Taylor. And she is, if you saw 1001, and I believe that was her debut. I liked her music before I knew that, but I knew of her as an actor. But
she's a real multi-hyphenate too. She's a choreographer.
Really
she was like a Beyonce choreographer before she started doing her own music.
She's
done everything.
Talented, incredible. And in the same way that Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't appear to have any kind of, like forethinking about what necessarily he's going to come off as or look like, she seems to be working from her gut too. And this is a performance that ranks among the most, like, I want to say that it's naturalistic in that it feels very much in line with her as a person, Tiana Taylor, but it's so braggadocious. It's so incredibly in your face, and it's incredibly horny. I almost said sexy. She's, of course, very sexy, but part of the problem with this person is that she's horny to her detriment. I mean, I feel like we can get into we could sit here for 3 hours and talk about this film. And
well, I mean, I think it's saying a lot about her performance and the character's place in the story, that she really only exists in the story for like the first third of it, maybe. It's almost 3-hour movie. Yeah.
What I would call the prologue of the film, which is really incredible because I haven't finished the book yet, but its structure is Thomas Pynchon, so it's free flowing, it's very digressive, but his structure, and it's very differently told. The structure there is more flashback, whereas PTA is doing his, at least narratively, casino and like
momentum with a capital.
Absolute building momentum. And the first hour of it, kind of miraculously, is a montage, really. And it's probably less than an hour, but when you're hanging on to every shot, every movement, every bat of an eyelash, to use a parlance from the film, like you are here, it's all just really masterful filmmaking from the jump, from the shot of Perfidia as she's walking along an off ramp on a highway where the detention center is below and the camera tracks below, and Johnny Greenwood's score, overwhelmingly, you kind of don't know if it's oncoming traffic or if it's this orchestral swell, shows you the detention center on the border. Okay, we've made it 30 seconds into the movie. Yay.
Well, yeah, and we're going to be jumping around here a lot. The score is great. I just rewatched Hard 8 last night because it's been a minute since I've seen it, and the score. What's remarkable to me, again, Anderson's developed so much as a filmmaker, and he's gone to so many different places with his subject and style. But the score in this film has a similar plays a similar role as it does in Hard 8, where sometimes it is existing in this weird space where you're not sure whether what you're hearing is diegetic or not. Whether are these sound effects? Is this ambience? Is this music? Johnny Greenwood doing like really interesting stuff. I think like building on the stuff that he's previously done for Anderson, but doing something very dissimilar from what I've heard in any other movie before.
And interpolating other kinds of music too that you wouldn't expect from him. I mean, the score here is a lot of piano and percussion, which, if you say that, it kind of makes sense for Greenwood, but late in the film, I'm hearing, and I haven't heard anyone else talk about this, the Wicked Witch theme happening. Do you hear that?
I'll have to revisit it.
During a scene that where it would feel very appropriate for it. But anyway, so the first, 30, 45 minutes, an hour, that's the thing too about this is that time is the way time is treated in the first hour, because it is the first third, we'll call it, because it is that sort of montage, and it sets itself as a prologue to the other two movements, and it will call it, or really just the other half. That is a story set in the now. And I won't say it's contemporaneous, because who knows what time. It doesn't really make sense for the baby that Bob eventually has with Perfidia is growing up. She is now 16. So this it's like, backtrack through this entire thing, because it's so, the emotions of it are relatively complex compared to what's essentially a chase story. And it reminds me quite a bit of No Country for Old Men in that kind of circular chasing that we were talking about. But what's introduced is a love triangle of sorts. And I'm putting love and triangle both in separate quotes here. And Sean Penn doing what is, I think of as this film's Anton Chigurh. And I mean that in a cultural sense too, in that you're getting a very clear all-time villain performance.
The facial tics alone that he's doing are just nightmarish stuff.
So you know exactly everything about this man within the first scene. I don't know if Sean Penn naturally has something on his upper lip, but he appears throughout the film to have a cold sore. And it could be that he's constantly chewing on his lips. I described it as Popeye is overdosing on his spinach. Does that make sense to you?
There is like juiced and clearly mentally not well, but in a very like cartoonish way that somehow works despite it being like half a degree larger than anything else happening in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe. I'm still sorting out how I even feel about it, but it is like it is full of choices. It is full of.
I know exactly how I feel about it. This is Sean Penn's best. And it's one of the great performances, I think. This is an actor completely possessed by whoever the fuck this is. And it's kind of like you understand who this person is just from the thrown out veins and his very muscular arms. They're just really, he is a walking fucking nightmare, but also one that is so chock full of insecurity that ultimately shows me that this film has its fingers on the pulse of exactly how our world works. And that the men who are in control because of their insecurities. And they have the privilege to get themselves into that position of power and abuse it for whatever means. And those are often stemming from personal rather than political.
Yeah, and I don't think it's an original observation to say that evil men of power are often like horribly pathologically insecure. But I think what works is the penchant of it all, is the way that Anderson is taking the novel, the inherent ridiculousness of that author. Like all of Pynchon's novels are a little like half a degree skewed, a little goofy.
Yeah.
The character names alone, like he plucks character names from the original novel, but he also adds his own. But all the original
character names, none of the character names are the same.
Right, but they also feel like they could have
feel like Thomas Pynchon, Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
that's not a person's name. That's the Thomas Pynchon novel name. I can't recall. But all the names are they're all very Thomas Pynchon, except Jungle Pussy, who takes her own name.
Naturally. Yeah. We are support the girls stands here. So
support the girls stands, support the girls reunion in this with Regina Hall.
Yeah.
But there's this incredibly like I'm struggling to define the feeling that is carried over into the second half, but there's an epic, tragic love story, like a mournful quality to the first third of this that
Well, let's talk about Perfidia, because this is
yeah,
something that I'm both fascinated by and struggling with a little bit, because I say that Tiana Taylor's performance, is in the first third, and then she's gone for the rest of the film. She rats out a
she's
lot of her former
physically gone.
revolutionaries, and
Yeah,
she then double crosses the government and disappears to Mexico. And she's a phantom presence, right? That's haunting the rest of the film.
yeah,
And yet, so much of it, like, there's nothing easy about her character. She literally does abandon her daughter for the revolution. And yet we understand everything about Bob's relationship to her. We understand why he's kept a lot of things from Willa, from his daughter, about her mother, why he's actively lied to her about what her position in the revolution was. He paints her as an, unadulterated hero, a great revolutionary. He doesn't paint her as what she really was, which was a rat who also hooked up with their worst enemy. Um, and yet, as complicated as I felt about Perfidia's place in the story, the final movement of the film, where we get that letter from her, I don't say it erases everything, but it feels so perfect about how her letter arrives into her daughter's hands and the words therein. And the message isn't really about motherhood or the years that she's missed, really about, are you growing up to be the
yeah.
kind of person who you should be to do good in this
Selfhood,
world? Yeah.
self-possession, the kind of agency that she wants her offspring to have that she's had. And I think she could do that.
It's such a great decision to not have Perfidia appear at the end of the film
Yeah.
again.
I mean, there's a cutaway shot to the past where the three of them, Willa, Bob, and Perfidia, Bob or Pat, Perfidia. Can we just stick with their second half names? Can we
Yeah, sure.
let it roll
Bob and
for
Will.
now? Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Charlotte.
right. Um,
I forgot about Charlotte until it was brought up again, almost like a jump scare.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have a daughter named Charlotte? I bit my bottom lip when I said that. Anyway,
It's a good impression. I love it.
yeah, yeah. He's been living in my mind rent free. But she's such a good because she is that's a revolutionary. She's got to take care of herself. Like it's that kind of person is required of the revolution in order for it to work, but it doesn't work. It fails ultimately because of the personal, right? Because I get too wrapped up in the personal, but then she's always going to look out for herself. She's always going to be that person. And, in trying to like pull her away from that and into something more quote unquote normal or a kind of family romance is where the failure ultimately happens. I mean, there's a number of things where this film, you think it's going to teach you that the man always wins over and over again. I mean, that's the whole idea, one battle after another. But what's ultimately so great about it is its lightness. And I mean,
It's so funny. This is such
it
a funny movie.
yeah, it's so funny. And I don't mean I mean, it's light, like shining bright light.
Mhm.
And how it is ultimately a hopeful film that it contains a history of tragedies of this family. But by the end of it, and I don't think it's done to without thought, by the end of it, there is a great uplift. And not with one that isn't filled out dread or danger.
It's not unqualified, but
Right.
it is there. I think that the remarkable jujitsu of this script as a work of adaptation. And I haven't read the novel, but my understanding is that this is a lot more like Anderson's translation of Upton Sinclair's Oil to There Will Be Blood. He's throwing out it's not like
All of the
Inherent Vice, which is, I think, strongly faithful to Pynchon's novel and derives a lot of its screenplay strength from lifting things dialogue whole cloth out of Finch's novel. Whereas
Yeah,
this,
this is
my
very
impression of
different.
this is different, right? Yeah.
This is very different. It's that he's taking all of the beats and ideas from it
Mm-hmm.
and making a Paul Thomas Anderson film, but a Paul Thomas Anderson film always kind of contains the DNA of Thomas Pynchon in it. The kind of absurdist humor, the political movement throughout. But I mean, all of these characters have their kind of corollaries in the book. All of the events have their kind of corollaries. But what he's done is adapted it for now. And the way that, I mean, something we've talked about when we talked about Far From Heaven or No Country for Old Men and genre filmmaking and populist filmmaking, I really do think this, as it has probably reflected in the multiple stories about its box office and its budget, that this is a populist film, one that begins with Sean Penn's boner. Regardless, it is a populist film in the genre that it's chosen to be made in. And that is essentially a political chase thriller, right?
Right. And what I was going to get at earlier, I think I tangented myself into avoiding,
Yeah, I've done it too. I found it very, I actually told a friend that I was kind of depressed in my way of not being able to verbalize how much this film has moved me.
Well, what I was going to say is that the remarkable sort of fake out or jujitsu, I think, of the screenplay, and this is an Anderson hallmark, I think, is that it can hold two ideas at once. That we can, on some level, recognize that what Perfidia is saying and doing is correct in the sense that attachment and the revolution are not going to be compatible on some level, and that building up, making a world for her daughter is more important than being a mother to her daughter, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, so Anderson can advance that idea and reinforce it here or undermine it there. He can advance it and put it out there and never really give us a conclusion about it. Because again, Perfidia never appears in the film again, except in flashback. But it doesn't undermine the power of that reunion when Bob and Willa finally meet up again after all this back and forth. And as you're saying, this sort of circular chase where they keep missing each other and other parties are interfering and redirecting them. There's still that great pop cinema catharsis of dad and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I say father and daughter? Maybe not father, but daddy, let's say. Daddy and daughter embracing again. There's still that incredible pathos of that. And the one doesn't diminish the other. This being, in some ways, one of the most blatantly serious political films that PTA has ever made, his Black Revolution film, for lack of a better word, for a director who has long been sort of suffered under the PTA cast a black person in your movie challenge. He's made his overt Black revolutionary and Latino revolutionary film.
Yeah, I mean, the film revolves around handful of black characters that
and
are
racial identity and racial
characters.
erasure. I mean,
And
this is a film about those topics.
Yeah, it is explicitly about racism in America, and it was made at $150 million, and it ends in one of the great chase scenes ever. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's like sneaking your ideas, and baby, you're not sneaking anything in this one. This is an overtly leftist filmmaking in a way that it's also kind of questioning the left and the ideas of revolution, but ultimately stands with, maybe it's not a part of, but it definitely stands with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, weirdly, the films that I was thinking of were mostly non-political films because in the moment, I was thinking about the mechanics of the thriller filmmaking. But the more I thought about it, you talked about sort of sneaking its way in. I was being a Star Wars head the way I was thinking of Andor, that which just won an Emmy. Tommy Gilbert just walked away with an Emmy, which is probably the only validation he's ever really going to get from his Disney masters about making maybe one of the great left-wing treatises inside a Star Wars film for the past 20 years. But this film, yeah, this is it takes as a given from the outset that we're going to be sympathetic to these revolutionaries, which is itself a sort of an assumption on PTA's part, right? He doesn't give us 30 minutes of scene setting to get to know these people and then has them do their secret op against the ICE equivalent in this movie. He opens with that movement. He opens with the action sequence or the
There's a lot of grace in the storytelling too, and a lot of very little hand holding anywhere.
No, he entrusts. There's a really enthusiastic deployment of revolutionary ideas and vocabulary without sort of hand holding us and letting us know what all that means. He expects us to keep up in a way that, again, reminds me of Pynchon himself, that like he rests on a certain assumption that we're going to be able to understand where things are going.
But the fight is very specific too. I mean, they're liberating a detention center, and then within the montage, she's talking about, you know, abortion bans, and, and they are being very specific. And it's not that the film is required to follow one side or the other, but the way that the absolute lift comes from what they're doing. This is a revolutionary film. You know, this is a film for these people. And I'm totally fine that it takes that stance with it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not, I think people who listen to this podcast and know us as writers and critics know what our politics are and know the things we're going to be sympathetic to. But again, I can't stress enough how graceful PTA's like threading of that needle is here, that he's making an overtly left-wing political film, a revolutionary film that also works so well as a family drama, as a weird kind of family drama, as a weird kind of chase film, as a comedy in some ways. Like that is a pretty fascinating. And there have been I think this is something he's getting better at as a filmmaker. Like again, I don't think he's ever made a bad film, but rewatching Hard Eight, rewatching Magnolia, sometimes it feels like he's struggling with how to use genre to achieve the ends that he has in the emotional and character ends he has in mind. I think of PTA as a sort of character first filmmaker. As much attention as his style gets, as much attention as his writing gets, I always think of him as a character based screenwriter and filmmaker. And it feels like, particularly his last few films, maybe like since Inherent Vice on, he's so focused. He has such a clear idea about what he wants to achieve with each leap he makes to a slightly different or subgenre. It just feels so refined now. It's crazy to me he might still be making movies for another 25, 30 years. Like,
thinking about that, I'm like, you know, why not retire after this one? But I guess, you know, Kubrick kept making movies after 2001 or whatever. Yeah, I think that's really key. And it's key in that, like, what I'm talking about in subverting genre isn't that's his mission here. He's got a holistic story, and it is sort of an amalgamation of everything that he's gone on, everything that he's been working towards. You can find the seeds of There Will Be Blood in here. You can find the seeds of Punch Drunk Love. You can find the seeds of Phantom Thread. And yet this is, you know, a film that is sort of I don't even want to call it a level up, because that's to advantage like big filmmaking, which is fine. It's just a different kind of filmmaking. But what he's done here is combining all of his preoccupations and found family and relationships and found the lens to make it into an epic. And it's an epic that still feels very personal. I mean, a lot of this film is like, you know, close up.
Yeah, but also his cinephilia, right? There's a reason that Battle of Algiers is actually shown within the film.
It's very cute. Yeah,
he's name checking his influences, the things that he's
like
been excited about.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just want to talk about how Bob, like, once his daughter leaves, like his way to relax is to get high and watch Battle of Algiers and repeat the dialogue back to it.
So I think that PTA has our numbers, what you're saying?
Well, mine is like, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? What would yours be? Probably like The Shining or Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, something really not uplifting at all. But I mean, it's again structurally, it's fascinating how that last 2/3 of it plays out. That so much of it is about waiting for the moment when Bob and Will reunite. Right, that's really what we want. We as the as sort of pop film viewers want to see dad and daughter reunited, everything made whole again, and but it takes such a long winding road to get there.
Literal long
And
winding
agents
road.
characters and agents circling each other,
Yeah.
and Bob in particular becoming kind of a hapless character through the entire back half of the film. I told my wife I couldn't get over the details of him running around in that stupid Big Lebowski robe from almost
It's
the entire
so
back half of the
funny.
film, and also the detail that he picked up his daughter's backpack and tagged it to the bottom of his backpack. So it's dangling there, this little pink backpack, maybe not even like a backpack that Will has used recently. It looks like a
No,
backpack an 8-year-old girl would walk around with.
it
But
looks
that
like
was,
that's
but that's
it might have
instinctively
been
what
the
he
escape
grabbed.
bag that he
Yeah,
made like when she was 3 or 4 or something.
exactly. That's what a revolutionary would do. They would make it they would make a go bag. The problem is that Bob has not been updating it. So Willis is full of Hello Kitty shit.
So what ends up happening is 16 years later, Stephen Lockjaw, the Sean Penn figure that we're talking about, who's
Mm.
responsible for what appears to be Alligator Alcatraz,
Yeah, and they never say. I mean, like
something of that ilk. There's no, yeah,
there's no ice logos.
no,
And the
but
film constantly conflates in a way that I think is actually kind of clever. It's constantly conflating police, border, FBI,
mhm,
and military. Or
it's
like,
them.
yeah, a nitpick you can make is that the film is not realistic because it's just sort of it's you pulling from those however it needs to at any given moment. But of course, that is the point: is that
And that's what they're doing now.
this is all being blurred, that both in a sense that it's reflecting our emergent reality in these United States, but it's also perfectly consistent with Pynchon reality, with Anderson reality, where there's the French 75 or what's left of them, and then there's the fascist forces that they're opposing. It doesn't really, the details don't matter. And I love the reveal that we need to talk about the Christmas Adventurers Club.
Well, okay. So here's my question for you about the Christmas. So really, Steve Lockjaw gets a kind of inkling, an almost offer into a very secret society, and one society composed of exclusively white people. There's a bit of dialogue about the men and women of the Christmas Adventures Club, but I have yet to see a woman Christmas adventurer.
We only see about 5 or 6 of them anyway. So.
And in their underground layers and dwellings that are made up like dentist's office with stuffed ducks, and
it's such a weird detail.
It's very weird detail, but one of whom is played by Tony Goldwyn. Tony Goldwyn is just an attractive man. You know,
he hasn't
very
aged.
smart
I like.
casting.
I don't know what his secret is. He hasn't aged since Ghost. It's crazy.
There's your answer, buddy. He's a ghost.
Super production.
Anyway, so, but Steve Lockjaw has this bit that in his past that he's got to resolve the relationship that he had, quote unquote relationship, and we can get into consent and how it works in that first half, and that she does not consent to any bit of that relationship, but uses her body as a weapon and is forced into using her body as a weapon. It's really tricky and interesting filmmaking, especially seeing it again. Anyway. So then he's got to find Steve Lockjaw and Perfidia's daughter, whom he believes is likely his own daughter. I think it's fair to give that out now.
Yeah, are we? Is this a spoiler cast? I thought we were
It's
talking
full
about it.
spoilers. This is film criticism. This is serious film criticism.
Well, that's what I thought, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
you're being
we're
kind of
good.
cagey. You're being cagey about it.
No, I just wasn't if it was ready for the conversation or not. But okay, so he's going to kidnap and give her a DNA test and all of this kind of false story, and he's going to quote bag and tag the man and apprehend the girl.
Mhm.
Right? But he fails at bagging and tagging Bob, and then Bob has to be spirited away through an underground railroad of of Hispanic immigrants that is led by Willa's Taekwondo instructor, played by Benicio del Toro, who's
Sensei
the
Sergio.
baby girl in this, and is like he's kind of like the wolf from Pulp Fiction. Like he knows exactly what to do at any given point, but you actually care about him as a person, and he's cute.
And he's also like congenitally inflappable. Like nothing seems to
Inflappable.
face him.
He's
He's
just like
zen about everything.
second floor, Bob.
But what I love about so the whole Christmas Adventure thing is a there's a lot of choices there. But what I love about how it's rolled narratively is that we initially don't know. Anderson hides it for a little bit about why exactly this, how exactly Lockjaw is achieving this, and he's achieving this sort of like raid on the town. What's the name of the town? There's a name for the Bathen Point, Bathen
Um,
Cross, I think is the name of the town. Another
yes,
very
Cross.
Pynchon name. This town, which we don't even know where it is it California? Is it the Southwest? Somewhere there. That's all that matters. This raid on this town is really just a pretext that we learn sort of backhandedly through the machinations of the Adventurer Club that Lockjaw has kind of gone rogue here, that he's using his position in the military or border patrol or whatever agency he's in charge of to strike out at the entire Latino and undocumented population of this town. They keep derisively referring to it as a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
Enemy territory is what they mean. And but at the same time, his real goal, the goal he's sort of single-mindedly obsessed with, is getting to Willa, right? Like getting his claws on her and getting that test done.
Early on, all he says to his lackeys is, "Find me a reason to get there."
Right. But I don't think it becomes apparent until later just how far
No,
off
not
book he's
really. I
gone, how
mean,
off
that's
book he's gone. Yeah.
yeah, and that's how these kinds of things happen, right? I mean,
Right.
single-mindedness of these people are how things like this occur.
But that's what's remarkable to me, again, sort of for narratively about it, is that like the Sensei Sergio's involvement, the entire like the raids, the demonstrations in the street, these are all collateral damage. The entire plot about the sort of underground railroad, as Sergio calls it, is collateral damage in Lockjaw's weird sexual humiliation slash father-daughter issues. Like, I don't even want to begin to unpack all the pathologies that are going on and whatever he's got going on with Willa. It's
Well, it's really
beyond me.
interesting to lay that triangle over the triangle of Perfidia, Bob, and Lockjaw.
Yeah.
To find the similarities. We were talking earlier about how Perfidia isn't present, but she's ghostly in a ghostly presence in it. Like you're not going to forget that person. But really, she has the corollary in her daughter there. And there's a moment where Regina Hall, who's playing one of the revolutionaries from the French 75, who did not get ultimately like shot down and murdered because she was ratted on, comes to save Willa from her school dance and takes her to a nunnery. And the nuns are actually seem to be like a contingent revolutionary group on the French 75, and the head of which recognizes her as, she says, "I look just like her, don't I? Don't I?" And she
No,
says,
not really.
"No, not really, but I can see her inside." This is it's that you kind of want to see Willa becoming Perfidia and to find that kind of righteous moral fight in all of this, in which she does, but she does it in her own way. And that's the ultimate thing that's kind of uplifting about it. Is like, she doesn't have to be the rat. She doesn't have to be,
Well, I was going to say that we need to give a shout out here to Chase Infinity, because I don't think I've seen her in anything before, but
another Thomas Pynchon name.
But yeah, both the actors and the characters. There's a lot of Thomas Pynchon names flying around. She's spectacular in this because she's doing such a credible job, I think, of playing in a movie that's filled with big gestures. She's playing a 16-year-old girl who's trying to figure out who she is and what her place is, and has that sort of upended very quickly. She's playing it so well. I 100% believed, like, when Sean Penn's doing his thing, I'm just sort of marveling at what I'm seeing happening to me. But Chase Affinity is doing something that 100% makes every step that Willa takes, everything that she says feels believable as something that a 16-year-old who is very precocious would say and do. Like it just feels credible all the way down in a way that I have a hard time sometimes with teenage actors and people playing teenagers, and she just sells it 100% every time.
She does, and she sells what is written for her, meaning the way that Bob meets her teacher and gets emotional when she says that she's really smart and she's really good at what she does, and Bob gets emotional on it because he's had a rough go at all of it and immediately goes to, that her mother died and everything, which is the lie that he's been telling her whole life.
Mhm.
But so you have to sell that, you have to fulfill that promise. And ultimately she really does. She's such a magnetic presence, but like you're saying, a believable one too.
Yeah. And Leo is great in this too. I'm a big fan of Leo going comic.
Yeah.
Uh, Wolf of Wall Street, I still contend to this day, it's basically a straight up comedy, and he's doing magnificent stuff in this. And this is like Leo at his most hapless, right? Like bumbling through everything, but also like we get those little grace notes every once in a while when he turns back to Sergio and "Viva la Revolution."
Yeah.
Like he he's sort of like dropped out a little bit and been lost in a pot fog, but we do sense that there's still that revolutionary in there somewhere, which I think is a nice way of playing it. But also just complete schlep. Like he never looks daring, he never looks heroic. He's just running around in that bathrobe,
And
trying his best. Just a dad
a
trying to
lot
do
of
his
this, yeah,
best.
a lot of the thrust of this film is in its title,
Hmm.
not only like how you fight a war, but how you survive day to day in a world that is constantly threatening your life. But yeah, a lot of this is the ultimate like frustration that he has at just a phone call and trying to remember a password. Is we get that he's in dire straits, like he is under circumstances that hopefully none of us really will be under, but
Hmm.
we get it. We know what it's like to be frustrated at the end of a stone wall. But the stone wall, did you catch his name?
Mm.
Comrade Josh.
Oh yeah. Oh, poor comrade Josh.
Yeah.
Um,
God.
I want to talk a little bit about that, like that infrastructure to the, because part of what I think is this film's sort of hopefulness or grace note is the implication contra the idea, the authorities idea that they've broken the French 75, right? Like we have this idea that the French 75 are very active for a period. They conduct all these direct actions. They're liberating immigrants. They're blowing up banks and campaign offices and other things. It's a little bit, like you said, it's all code left wing coded and through either explicitly or implicitly, but it's a little vague about like what their goals are. They're fomenting revolution. But the authorities believe that, once they capture Perfidia, once they break the gang, the group, and they arrest them or kill them all, or they all go into, the ones left over go into hiding, there's this authority feels that it's won, right? But what the
Yeah.
film shows to us in the 16-year flash forward is that it hasn't really broken anything. That there is still the entity once known as the French 75 might be broken, but there other things have risen up to take its place. Sergio is running his own underground railroad right under Bob's nose that he never knew about.
Right.
Like there are, and the institutions and the structures and the code words and the sympathetic people, the way that everybody from like the neighborhood kids playing soccer to the skateboarders in the streets are all kind of sympathetic and soft, a part of that soft power that these resistance movements have cultivated, is very adeptly depicted. And in some ways, the hopefulness stems not just from Bob and Willie reuniting, but from the demonstration down to the very last scene that the resistance movement is still out there in some form. It changes shape, it mutates, it becomes other resistance movements, but there's always that impulse to push back. So the idea that the French 75 being broken is somehow the end of an era isn't even really true.
You think that it has been.
Mhm.
But what you get is the kind of operational leader of the French 75 has been doing underground radio reports
Mhm.
and sort of, protests, polemical radio broadcasts.
Pirate radio, basically, for lack of a better
Pirate
word.
radio, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's gone and he's captured as this plan starts to get set in motion. This is the initial one. This is the guy who's given the Bob his Bob identity in the
Mhm.
flashback, but he's back, and you see the neighborhood boys watch him get black hooded and swiped into a car,
Mhm.
the way we're seeing on our streets now. And you think, wow, I can't believe a child has to see that. But as it turns out, they're actually a part of the plan.
Right.
They go
They're
in,
the
they
little birds. They
broadcast the
saw it.
thing. And that was to me when this film is like a very exciting film. It's a very funny film. I found that very emotional, and that this is how you win. This is you have small steps, and you're aware of what's happening, and you're fighting against what's happening, and it's a group initiative. It's that group of like-minded people. That's the thing that made me really emotional. And when the two nurses
Mhm.
assist Bob out of the hospital, the kind of secret underground way that you have to fight a revolution, but that you have allies everywhere you turn, is very hopeful to me.
Well, the Andor tagline is "I have friends everywhere."
Yeah,
That's how.
I'm gonna
That's
have
the.
to do Andor, but I don't know if I can take so much revolution. Um, Not on a sick day.
Go back and
I
watch.
get a
Watch.
break today?
Go back and rewatch Phantom Thread, and then come
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That would be really good on a sick day. I'm gonna have my husband bring me some food.
so how was again like we're politically sympathetic to this film and its viewpoint, but I don't think it's too much to say that even if you 100% aren't politically aligned with this film, that the filmmaking itself is so propulsive,
Mhm.
so relentless, so dazzling at some times, so funny. Leo taking a 40-foot drop off a roof into a tree.
It's crazy.
Um,
So, I
so
was
how
talking to Pete Timmerman about that. I don't know how it was done.
it I mean, who knows? It sure as heck looks like Leo when he gets up and walks away, and all in
Yes,
one
it does.
cut. One cut. Um, movie magic, right? Tom. They name tech check Tom Cruise, and by
Yeah,
definition, Mission Impossible and its stunt work in this film
fearless.
because again, PTA loves the visceral thrills of cinema as much as he loves this thematic depth. And so I want to have to ask, having since you saw it on IMAX 70 millimeter, how does that final nauseating sequence in the desert with those cars play, where it's like a roller coaster where you're going up and down over those hills? How does that feel on IMAX and 70 millimeter?
Oh. Well, so I turned to my friend and my husband, and I said, okay, now that we've walked into the theater and we know that this screen is fucking massive, I'm just going to say there is one part where you might get a little dizzy. Can we talk about how I've seen a lot of movies, thousands of movies? You've seen a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
In 130 years of cinema, have you can you recall anyone putting a camera on a hilly road like that? Something that seems so fucking rudimentary
Hmm.
and making me, I mean, outside of a roller coaster, I guess that's the thing. And I'm sure everyone would love for, the studios would love for me to call this roller coaster of a movie because it literally does that. But the cars on the hill, oh my God.
Well,
It's
you
a,
have to find
it's,
exactly the right terrain, that sort of undulating
oh
uh,
my God.
desert terrain that works really well for that. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never happened because
The plot
I
too,
don't have
though.
an, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of film, but it feels like this kind of thing that should have been done sort of in that 70s heyday.
That's what I'm
Dirty Mary,
saying.
Crazy Larry,
How have I
Vanishing
not seen
Points.
this 1,000 times? Like, how is this having such a crazy effect on me? And all it is put the camera on the front of the car.
Yeah. And
essentially is what it feels like. I know that's not.
but it's also the
Okay.
genius of Willa's gambit, right? The
Yes.
stop, dead stop right at the top of right as you're cresting the top of the
Because
hill.
that's the
And
feeling she's getting from it, right? It's a really empathetic move. Like that's the feeling that she's getting. It's like all of these crests. And I would, I did not, I would never, I am not smart enough, is what I'm saying, to ever think like Willa did in that moment.
smart girl, smart girl.
Very smart. But the thing that's like really ultimately satisfying is that it isn't an easy ending or an easy climax
No.
when they finally do meet and she's screaming, "Who are you?" Because she knows he's not her father anymore. It's her entire life. Hasn't been a lie. But ultimately she trusts him and she knows to trust him because he's built that kind of trust for her. It's just a really moving moment.
Oh, it's great.
It's packed with danger too, because you think, you know, is he gonna let them win ultimately?
Mhm.
And as a filmmaker, but it doesn't play like a filmmaker's hand is involved. It plays like people. She's completely traumatized, but can through that trauma can see in that moment that she's going to be okay.
Mhm.
That is the way out. That it's over.
And it's such a great touch that we don't get. We get the post climactic conversations that they inevitably had left completely off screen. We don't get them. We don't get them. We don't know. Did Willa ever tell Bob that she's not his biological daughter? Doesn't matter
Doesn't
because
matter.
she's been reunited with her dad. That's all that
Right.
matters.
Right.
And they've both learned a lot, for lack of a better term. They've both learned a lot through their trials about how they're going to move going forward. But like again, the little details is always such a joy with Anderson. The way that I thought for sure. So some of it is like laying seeds, but some of it is also like contravening our expectations. I 100% thought we were going to get some payout on Willa's purple belt taekwondo expertise. She struggles a lot in those
I
handcuffs and zip
mean, she
ties.
does get herself properly
Hops out.
situated with
Yeah.
the zip ties. She steals like she's pretty
She's
physical.
resourceful. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
physically resourceful. I thought for sure we were going to get a beatdown moment, but maybe not. But do we
Uh,
good to get things like Willa being good with a gun, knowing how to like she needed to be good with a gun, at least with a semi-automatic pistol, for that final climax to work for her to take down that bounty hunter, right?
But we do get the training. But here's the ultimate shot in this for me right now, as it is right now, is Perfidia.
Pregnant Perfidia
Pregnant
shooting at assault
Perfidia,
rifle.
because it's such an alarming photo, right? It's such an
Right.
alarming image. But once you're in the film and she's got that semi-automatic against the baby in her womb, you know that she is training her. You know what I mean?
She's giving her
Like,
a preview of the kickback she's gonna get
yes,
from an assault
absolutely.
rifle.
And it's such a striking image, but one that it does sort of feel like a thesis. So talk about that, like in IMAX, the way that this film was shot and in VistaVision, I mean, it's so richly textured. I mean, saying so about a Paul Thomas Anderson, he didn't shoot this. This is his second time working with cinematographer.
Same guy did Licorice Pizza, right? I don't know his name off the top
This
of my
is
head.
his second time working with cinematographer Michael Bauman after Licorice Pizza, having lensed Phantom Thread himself. I mean, dude, uh, you know, it's so important the quality of the images. Like that sounds so stupid.
No, I
It's
mean like,
old
but it's
medicine,
even,
but it's
but this is something that I think PTA and every cinematographer he's worked with has excelled at for so long. It's almost we almost take it for granted. Like, but
mhm.
as spectacular as some of those images are, like I'm struck by things like the way that Deandra, Regina Hall's character, and Willa finally meet up in the bathroom. That there's some great mirror work there where we don't see Deandra's face right away. We see her coming
Mhm.
in sort of from off camera to our right, and slowly we're pushing in on Willa standing there in front of the sink. And how great of a detail is that, is the touch of those trackers that sing on harmonized song when they're together. It's
It's
such a
such a great
it's so
mechanic,
corny.
but it
It's so corny,
also
but it works.
yeah, it is a little corny and but the way that it in the screenplay it is that kind of device, right? Like we know they're going to come back and the way they come back multiple times, it's just really expertly done. But
Mhm.
to think about it in for what it is too, like that they sing in harmony,
Mhm.
it's so oh, I love this movie a lot.
All
I love
right. So
this
what are we gonna
movie.
say about it?
What do you mean? I think it's pretty clear that this is for me. So the kind of experience that I had watching it, not only the first time, but the second time too,
Mhm.
and the subsequent 80 times I'll be watching it, I was really overwhelmed by it and overwhelmed in everything that it is, not only because it's, I'm predisposed to feel emotional about everything that's happening politically and socially right now, but the way in which this story is told is essentially a family story, as most Paul Thomas Anderson films are. But during it, I kind of thought, even outside of the film, I was like, is this what like Cliff felt watching Taxi Driver in '76? I mean, like that kind of thing that would not only like carry me through, or I'm just so happy to have it in my life and to have that kind of experience with it.
Well, in keeping with the themes of the film, imagine that you're an 18-year-old watching this movie
Oh my God,
and how much of an impression that's gonna make on you.
it really does feel like a revolutionary act too. Just the scale that it is,
Mhm.
that it has, one of the few movie stars left. Maybe we won't discuss his ties to Israeli government, but that's fine. Whatever. I guess you do one battle after another. Yeah. So this one, I'm voting a yes.
Okay. I I feel like it's very hard for me to make these vault choices about new movies. But I feel like having a PTA in the vault is almost like required for us at the take up, so I'll vote for it too.
Oh my God! Eventually, one of us is going to lose a vote.
We're gonna find those films. I think we're gonna find those films we have
We'll
differences of
split. We'll
opinion.
split on one.
Yeah.
But this one was kind of like, I don't know. Not, it certainly exceeded my expectations. But if we were going to love anything together this year so far, it's
Is
probably
this your favorite film we've seen this year?
yes.
Okay, so this is Josh's numero uno right
No
now.
hesitation. I don't really know what's going to have me in this kind of lift, this kind of elevation,
I
this,
have I have
but
films that
I'm
I'm still
welcoming it.
waiting. I still have films that I'm waiting for that I'm excited about, but I can't imagine a sort of visceral experience on this
Sure.
level again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm willing and very happy for something to come along and
Unseat it.
unseat it. Thank you. Thank you. Unseat it. All right, Andrew, I know we got one more thing, but can I make you save whatever you prepared?
Oh, sure.
And your one more thing is actually your favorite moment from this film.
Oh, you go first. I'm gonna have to think about that.
I'm thinking about it too. I think it has to be the car chase at the end. I,
Mhm.
I think just using the cinematic apparatus to not only put you in the situation, but also put you in the thought of a character, and the way that it climaxes is so unique. I mean, it really does remind you of Tarantino and the way that Tarantino is able to make those kind of Rube Goldberg cinematic little traps for you. But ultimately, how it ends with the "Who are you?" To me is really what's so rich about all of it. So I'm really talking about like a 10-minute stretch of the film.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's sort of the marquee sequence that a lot of people are talking about it. Both
Yeah.
because we've spent 2.5 hours basically holding our breaths.
Right.
And now it's not only like it's not just coming to a head, it's getting escalated. We have this like we not only have the Lockjaw Bob Willa sort of triangle, but we have this fourth element, which is the Christmas assassin, sort of making things even more complicated and perilous and horrifying. Um, I don't know what else to call him. The Christmas
The,
assassin?
the way I can't tell that guy apart from Tony Goldwyn is so funny to me.
I'm gonna go with the moment. I mean, I think I'm just gonna go back to the moment I mentioned earlier because I think it's visually a great PTA visual grace note is Deandra coming to Willa in the bathroom and those signals going off because it's also just it's a beautiful moment filmically, but it's also a beautiful moment narratively because we know that the vice is closing. We know that Lockjaw is coming
Mm,
for Bob and Willa at that point. So that's viewer knowledge, not character knowledge. Bob knows that something has been alerted that something is happening. Willa's has been ignorant up until this moment that she is under danger. So we get this beautiful moment where the payoff that Bob has been waiting for 16 years, the tracker that he keeps insisting that she carry everywhere, finally he's starting to make noise. And there's this woman that she's never seen before standing in front of her, telling her that you have to come. It's the Terminator moment to bring it back to Terminator 2. It's come with me if you want to live. That's basically what
right.
Deandra's saying. But it's so great because we, the viewer, have been terrified for Willa because we know that Lockjaw is closing in on her. And in this last moment, that's the moment where Anderson gives us the relief of knowing, oh, somebody with good intentions, Deandra, who have been sort of absent from the story since the French 75 broke up, has popped back in, and she's there to bring Willa to safety. It's a moment of both tension and relief at the same time. That's a PTA like hallmark, I think.
And that it's her who is really kind of the conscious of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Is conscious what I meant to say?
Conscience, yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Oh, to bring it back, let me add another one. The moment where Deandra and Willa are at the nunnery, at the the pot convent, and abruptly, we don't even know what the conversation they were having was, but Deandra just goes, she raises her lips, and then without a word, slinks out.
I mean, she's leaves it at that. She's the one who is sort of, able to wrangle all of the kind of disparate craziness of the French 75. And she, I've had a couple of people tell me, oh, they don't like how she's deployed in this film and then kind of unceremoniously removed from it. And I don't know, it's just sort of the way revolutions are fought. But, if there's a heart to it, it's
every group needs a mom figure.
Yeah, it's her.
Even if it isn't a literal mother, so you need a mom figure, a mom in every group.
And that it's Regina Hall. Yeah. And because Regina Hall, you look at her and you will feel 1 million things. Yeah, this is a great film.
From Scary Movie to this. Wow.
Yeah. She actually gives a really great, Vanity Fair, they do those like rewind careers and actors watch their own careers. And she just seems so humbled to come from Scary Movie to be in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And it's like, well, you should have been in Paul Thomas Anderson movies the entire time.
You were always meant for great things.
You were always great. Yeah. All right. So what was your real one more thing? My one more thing is going to see one battle after another in as large a format as possible. I can't, I'm going to live with this movie at home. I know I'm going to be watching it. But I will always have the memory of this huge fucking square staring at Sean Penn's Cold Sore.
I guess the one more thing then is go see movies big when you can. Good movies win big when you can.
Yep. And
even if you have to drive to Indianapolis or Chicago or whatever.
Said this before. I think my one more thing before has been like, why not just go see a movie? What was yours?
I'm going to talk about a sequel to a game I think I won more thing to like 3 years ago when this podcast first started. The new game Ghost of Yotei, which is the new game from Sucker Punch Studios. This is PlayStation Studios sort of sub studio. They're famous for the Sly Cooper and Infamous series, but their big claim to fame in the recent gen of console gaming is Ghost of Tsushima, which came out a few years ago and left a great impression with me. I loved it, played it through several times. And this is the sequel to it. It's a sequel that's more thematic. So one of the things I think is interesting is that they're already kind of bucking the game trend where we pick up with some characters a few years later, or whatever, and continue the same story. This is Sucker Punch deciding we liked the format. So Ghost of Tsushima was about a samurai on Tsushima Island during the Mongol invasion of Japan in the, I believe, 14th century, 13th or 14th century. This game picks up in the 17th century, completely unrelated characters, completely different story in the northernmost region of Japan and the island of Hokkaido. So it has nothing in common narratively with the original story, but it is a spiritual successor. In a sense, it's still samurai and stealth action around a big open world Japan, like historically accurate Japan. This is the kind of game
It looks fucking gorgeous.
Okay, so this
I've
is
seen
where
the trailer for it on a big screen at the Alamo because Sony has their hands on Alamo now.
Yeah,
and they've even got like a Ghost of Yutai. Is that how you say it? Is that what
Yotei? Yeah,
Yotei. Inspired menu.
Oh dear,
like that. But it looks incredible.
Yeah, so that's actually what I want to emphasize here when I'm talking about one more thing. I mean, it's a big open world action adventure game. If you like that kind of thing, you're gonna like that. You go around, you fight enemies, you take over strongholds, you do activities, you progress the story. You know whether or not this game, like a typical AAA open world game, is your kind of cup of tea. What I want to emphasize specifically about Sucker Punch's game, it's not even the crunchier game design elements. It's how aesthetically peerless their work is. I think this is a common feature of the companies that are under the PlayStation Studios banner. It includes companies like Insomniac, who do the Spider-Man games, Naughty Dog, who do, of course, The Last of Us, Santa Monica, who do God of War. But it feels like one of the common threads of the studios that Sony admires and snaps up and brings into their umbrella to do exclusive titles for their platforms is they love games that look beautiful, not just in terms of the realism of whatever world that they're showing, the graphical fidelity, but just an attentiveness to the details of it. And that's one thing that Sucker Punch in particular is really excellent at. It was a great part of Tsushima, and the part that's continuing to blow me away in Ghost of Yotei is how every aspect of the design, the user interface, even the fucking like fonts in the menus and the way that the animations work in the game menus is beautiful. It's a beautifully designed game that's been.
Are you playing it on Kurosawa mode?
I am not. So here's my so for those who don't know, Ghost of Tsushima and now Ghost of Yotei have what's called Kurosawa mode, which is Japanese dialogue, English subtitles, black and white, and film grain and scratches to sort of simulate an old samurai film.
Wind? Is that a thing? Like the wind mechanics are increased?
No, the wind is an essential part of the game, actual mechanic from the beginning. Another thing that I love, there's no mini map in this game, even though it's an open world game, and there's no setting down markers that you can then see in the game world. You set down a marker and it creates a gust of wind that blows in that direction, and you follow the fucking wind. Such a beautiful mechanic, expertly implemented. No, there is also a Miike mode that supposedly, I haven't played with it yet, that supposedly increases blood dismemberment and mud spattering.
Yes, I have seen this. I have seen this too. You know, if I'm going to get into a game, it's because these two modes exist.
I tend to play historical open world games in their original language. So I'm currently, my first playthrough, I'm playing in Japanese with English subtitles, as I tend to do like with all the Assassin's Creed games as well. I try to play them in whatever sort of immersive language. Second playthrough, sometimes I'll switch over just so I can get a taste for what the English voice actors are doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you love beautiful games, like aesthetically pleasing games that are like produced with an exceptional level of polish, highly recommend Sucker Punch's new game, Ghost of Yotei. Plus, it's like it's a Japanese samurai revenge epic. It's nothing complicated narratively, but if you like that kind of shit, complicated. If you like a lady hunting down the masked people who killed her whole family one by one and marking them off her list, taking down the cunts and dicks responsible, then you will like this game.
That's a reference, everyone.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't bring up. Did I bring up Kill Bill?
No.
During this discussion? Okay, well, we'll do another discussion about one battle after another. Until then, well, so say the name of the game one more time. Spell Yotei.
Ghost of Yotei, which is the name of the mountain, the main mountain in Hokkaido. Yotei.
Very good. And that's available on major platforms.
It's PlayStation exclusive for now.
Oh,
I think,
right. Because it's
as with
PlayStation, right?
as with Tsushima, usually like a year or two later, they do produce a PC port.
Or a loan to the PC players.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where can people find you?
At thetakeup.com.
They can find me at okay, Josh Ray. Feeling quite okay. We're gonna get through this little cough, and on the next episode, we're gonna have our friend Alex McPherson is going to bring the hot fuzz to the Take Up. Yeah, some of this congestion is making me sound pretty good. The hot fuzz. A film, I don't know that I've ever seen.
You're kidding.
Well, I guess we'll get into it. That's next week. Here in your feed, we'll have that. Until then, I want to thank Ethan Tarantella for helping to produce and edit the show, Kayla McCullough for our social media, theme music by AMP. And as always, dirty work. Oh, yeah. All right. Take it easy, baby. Make it last, all the speed. Yeah, we can do it.